Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'm afraid my Portuguese is much more limited than your English is, so I cannot answer you in Portuguese, but I can just say bom dia e obrigado pelo convite. It's a great honor, dear board members of Planalto and administration of Planalto, students, teachers and parents, for me to be here today. I've been to Lisbon before. I visited other schools, very much with the help of Planalto. We made a little tour yesterday and saw a couple of other IB schools. But it's really an honor for me to participate in your ceremony this time. As your director said, I've worked for the IB now for many years. I started, of course, in a school in Sweden, introducing the IB back in 1981. It's really been a privilege to work with colleagues in the IB whose focus is 100% on education. I said this to another school a couple of days ago. Many in society claim that education is the most important topic. Former Prime Minister in Britain, Great Britain, the UK, Tony Blair, said that there were three things on his priority list, or on the agenda, as politicians say today. And it was education, education, and education. I think those of us who work very closely in education may feel that it's not always matched, those fine words, matched with an allocation of adequate resources in education. But we're doing what we can to influence ministries to put more weight into education. In recent years, I've worked very much with recognition issues, and it's very appropriate that we are in Lisbon, because one of the more important documents when it comes to recognizing other countries or transnational qualifications is the Lisbon Convention from the Council of Europe. They met here in Lisbon in the 90s and put together a paper which is referred to in many, many discussions between universities and with ministries. And the IB is not mentioned by name in that convention, but it was because of the IB that the clause about transnational educational or qualifications was introduced. And this is a document that we often use in our discussions. I will say a few words about recognition and then talk a bit more about the IB developments as a whole, and finally congratulate the graduate students from the IB group here of May 2014. I think it's fair to say that generally speaking, the IB enjoys a very, very good recognition worldwide. Prestigious universities such as Oxford, Warwick, many in the US, in Canada, University of British Columbia, McGill, and so on, they do welcome IB students. So it's not really recognition as such that we are looking for now. We're stretching that bit now, saying that we want a fair recognition. And that is a discussion that we have, and Portugal is no exception. The conversion, how you compare the IB grades to the national grades. There we still have an open dialogue and should have an open dialogue with ministries. But I definitely think time is on our side. More and more research shows that IB students are successful in universities. There was a big research work in the UK a couple of years ago showing that IB students reach higher grades, better degrees than their peers coming from other national systems. In Spain, the government said that they would like to introduce more IB schools in the public sector and giving the IB, the DP, the diploma, results exactly the same standing as the Spanish. There are curriculum analyses coming out saying that the higher level courses within IB and the program as such, the diploma program, is one of the most demanding programs among all systems. So I definitely feel that things are going in the right direction. The IB as an organization, in terms of numbers of schools and programs, has also developed in a very consistent, rapid way worldwide. It was founded in 1968, starting with some 6 or 7 schools. We are now approaching 4,000 schools in 147 countries. And we have developed then programs to cover the full school career from PYP to the diploma. And it started with teachers. I think that's one of the big advantages of the IB as well. It's taught, of course, by teachers, but teachers also help us develop the program. So a group of talented, forward-looking, forward-thinking teachers in international schools are really those that were behind the diploma program. And for many years, the diploma program was the only program the IB offered. But what started as a single program is now covering the full school career. We've also added on many new countries recently. The collapse of the Soviet Union has seen countries like Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, and so on. We're growing in the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. There is a growing interest in these governments or authorities to work together with the IB to look at authorization, evaluation, and assessment. And many of the IB schools are among the best schools in their respective countries. The so-called league tables in the UK and the US is convincing evidence that top schools do the IB. And my understanding is Planalto is no exception. Today, the IB has global centers in The Hague, Bethesda in the US and Singapore, plus offices in Geneva and Cardiff and Buenos Aires. In addition, we also work with regional representatives in the countries to be able to reach out to universities and ministries in a more sort of considering the local context. So that's a bit of a background then to the work that I've been involved in and some of the developments that the IB organization has gone through. And as I said, it is definitely my understanding that this is a tendency that will be strengthened and that will grow. So let me now take the opportunity then to say a few more words about the diploma program as such, and in doing so, also congratulating the graduates. So, dear graduates, congratulations. I know it's been some time now since you finished your IB studies. I hope you are satisfied with the results and that you have exciting plans for the future. I'm also sure that you feel relieved, and you have a right to. Many students before you have witnessed that going through the DP is a tall order and hard work. But let's be realistic, it's not impossible work. I usually said when I worked in school, motivated students that are prepared to work hard, but not 24 hours a day, they will cope with the diploma program. Sometimes when we talk about the diploma program, I think we all have a tendency to perhaps exaggerate the difficulties. So I really hope that you have had many good moments when you studied, when you felt that this is the right way to do it, I'm on the right track, and you feel that teachers and you work together towards a common goal. I said before that the ultimate test of our programs are in the classroom, and how teachers and students can work with the programs. And of course, in the long perspective, what pathways into higher education and employment these programs can open up for the students. We're not saying that the IB, diploma or MYP or PYP is superior to all other national systems. We are very certain that many good things happen in national systems as well. But I do hope that the diploma program for you here is found to be a very good vehicle, you can call it that, for you and the teachers to work with achieving the goals that you have set. And I would say that is perhaps the essence of the IB programs, that students should feel the relevance. And my best experience from my school days are those when I felt that students felt that the DP gave them the structure and the flexibility to concentrate on the subjects they were most interested in. And they could dig a bit deeper into interesting topics in, for example, the extended essay. So it's my hope that the DP model has also met your wishes and interest. And the DP model has stayed pretty stable since 1968. We're still talking about these 6 groups. We're still putting the emphasis on the mother tongue, knowing that it has so much to do with identity, culture and history, but also on the second language, an important element and requirement. And we know that learning a second language is not only learning new words, new grammar, but it also makes you more curious and interested in other cultures, which is of course also at the heart of the IB philosophy, to develop inquiring, knowledgeable and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world. And I'm sure we could go on then, going through all the groups, but that would take all morning. But I hope that you have felt that this balance, to make sure that the skills and competences and knowledge, that they form a whole, that different skills are learnt in the different subject groups. But we need to be careful here, I think. Academic excellence is not all that is required to meet our vision to create a better and more peaceful world. The academic part needs to walk hand in hand with social growth and awareness of the needs in society and respect for human life. There is too much evidence in the world around us today to show that there still remains a great deal to be done in this area. And we have a long way to go before we can say that peace is the normal condition of life and relationship between countries. I often quote a phrase from UNESCO back from 1945, where it says, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defences of peace must be constructed." I fully understand that the IB can only make a modest contribution into this, but I do believe that education is one of the most powerful tools that we can have in order to change things. And we are not alone thinking that, of course. There was a very famous chair of the European Commission some years ago put together a policy document for education called the 4 pillars of education: learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. And I think that these are echoed very well in the learner profile of the IB. And the IB has always stressed the importance of the dual task for education. CAS is one example where we say, or where we show, that academic excellence is not the only important part in education. There is also education outside the classroom. And I think that feels particularly appropriate to talk about the CAS activities today. We see so much happening around us, and IB students make a contribution and an effort worldwide. Another big name in education is Howard Gardner, a Harvard professor, who also changed our way of looking at intelligences when he widened the concept to include interpersonal intelligences, in addition to the traditional cognitive definition. In his book, more recent years, he speaks about 5 minds for the future: the disciplined mind, the respectful mind, and so on, and the creating mind. But he also added on the ethical mind. And Howard Gardner has been the speaker of some IB conferences, so we met him. I think he wanted to say that I think we have enough of creativity and innovation, not meaning, of course, put a stop to all good things happening, particularly in technology, but we need to pay more attention to the ethical part, and so the ethical mind. So let me also hope that your IB studies, your DP studies, have given you opportunities to explore this. Because if we are going to break down barriers of prejudice that stand between people and create a better understanding between people and countries with different languages and culture, we do need to stress the element of international mindedness. A former director of the IB summed it up like this some years ago. The honesty of the IB stems from the fact that we require all students to relate first to their own national identity, their own language, literature, history, and cultural heritage, no matter where in the world this may be. Beyond that, we ask that they identify with the corresponding tradition of others. It is not expected that they adopt alien points of view, merely that they are exposed to them and encouraged to respond intelligently. The end result, we hope, is a more compassionate population, a welcome manifestation of national diversity within an international framework of tolerance and respect. So ideally, at the end of the IB experience, students should know themselves better than when they started, while acknowledging that others can be right in being different. This may sound very philosophical to many of you, but I think if we really think about it in sort of a very hands-on way, I think that it's just showing that during the IB journey, we are also expecting to widen our horizons, to have a better understanding why things happen and why things look like they do and why we think as we do. Let me just finish with a reflection on my own graduation. When I graduated, we had a feeling that the whole world was open for us. This was a long time ago, and usually graduation from a high school opened up quite a few possibilities for you. We know that this is not exactly the situation today. It seems we need to go on studying, adding on more and more years of education. And that is why it is so important that our programs open up the relevant pathways into higher education or employment. So, even if I'm fully aware that it may be a bit tougher today, a bit more hard work, this is not the day to be pessimistic about the future. Let us celebrate and go out there and meet the world with full optimism. I'm sure that through the DP studies, you have a solid platform to work on from, and that you are prepared for studies, for employment, or for any other things that you would like to spend your future, any other line of education that where you would like to spend your future. So let me now wish you every success in whatever your choice might be. But you do have completed a good educational qualification, and you should be ready to go out there with confidence and conviction to make the best of it. Congratulations, and may all your dreams come true.